So I finally caved and got myself a paint shaker from eBay. As a miniature painter, you'll find that over time, no matter what the brand is, the paint will start to separate or dry up. This device is traditionally used for shaking up nail polish. It's also traditionally used for shaking up the pigments in tattoo liquids. This device comes with a detachable plug. It is quite a commonly found attachment. The box also came with an additional adapter for UK-based plugs. This paint shaker set me back about £23. Now you might be wondering, well, what's the point in buying a device like this when you can just shake your paints by hand? Or adding ball bearings as well is another option that people do use. However, the problem with both of those is I do actually own a lot of paint. Having to shake all of my paints by hand and try and get the same consistency is a pain. Plus, I'd rather not have to put ball bearings into every single one of my paints. I've used the paint shaker a few times and I'm really happy with the way it's come out, so I'm going to demonstrate to you the practical use of it. So here I'm just grabbing a paint that I've not used in a while. I'm not shaking this one up at all. So as you can see, the liquid is separated and is very watery. The device is now plugged in and all I need to do now is put the lid back on the paint and put the paint on the top of this device. Once pressure is applied, that's when the shaker starts to activate. Make sure that it's on a solid flat surface. You don't have to leave the paint on the shaker for too long, but in this case I've just left it on for a little bit longer. As you can see now, the paint's coming out really nicely. It's got a nice consistency and has mixed well together. Next, I'm going to be using the shaker on one of my paints that's clogged up. I'm firstly unclogging the paint with a cocktail stick. Some dropper bottle paints over time can get a crusty layer in them, which can make trying to pour the paint out a pain. Metallics can also notoriously separate the pigments in them, so it gets quite watery. As you can see, the paint's struggling to come out of the container. So we are now going to put the lid back on and press it onto the shaker. As you can see, the paint's flowing a lot more easily out of the container now. Just be careful of it coming out too much. Next, I wanted to demonstrate to you how it would look on a paint I've already shaken up by hand. So it's come out pretty well, but I wanted to try and demonstrate what it would look like shaken up with the paint shaker. Sped this up a little bit. After I've shaken the paint up with the shaker, the consistency seems to flow a lot better than it did when it was just shaken by hand. The shaker has been very helpful as well with Citadel contrast paints. Although I really like these paints, the elements in them tend to separate over time. I'm just speeding the process up a bit here. So after this has been used on the shaker, the paint's mixed really well, it's no longer separated, and is a lot easier to use. Another issue I have with some of my paints is that they start to become chunky and a bit more dried out. I mean, it's not too bad if you want to dry brush with it, but that's not what I want to be doing with this paint. I'm just adding a little bit of water and medium thinner to this paint. And you probably know the drill by now. We are going to be shaking it up. I have the song Shake It Up by Divine, who's from the John Waters movies, in my head. As you can see now, the paint's mixed up really nicely and it's got another lease of life. You're probably thinking, well, why don't you just buy some new paints? And I can understand that in one way. But the thing is, all paints do eventually start to separate and change a little bit. Plus, I don't have to keep spending money on buying new paints when I could just put them onto the shaker. Even really good paints, like these scale 75 ones, over time start to get a bit clogged up and the paints start to separate or go a bit claggy and a bit chunky. Oh, this can be a little bit of overkill at this stage. I just wanted to demonstrate to you the practicalities of this one last time. So I'm just going to be adding a little bit of water and medium thinner to this paint. You don't necessarily have to put these additives into the paint, you could just shake it and it comes out well too, but it just helps it flow that little bit better. And once again, the consistency of it has come out a lot nicer than it was before. So what do I overall think of this paint shaker? I personally really like it. The paint's consistency, once shaken up with this, is a lot better than when you shake it with hand. It has a really nice consistency to it and flows much better. As I showed you before, you can rescue your paints by adding a little bit of water or medium thinner or both. Just to warn you, and I don't know if this is on other brands as well, the rubber lid part at the top did come loose at one point, but it wasn't too difficult to actually just put it back on in place. This panicked me into thinking it wasn't working, when in fact this just needed to be realigned for it to actually start working again. As you can see, it's not difficult to put back on. I'll try and put more information about this particular one in the description, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and buy a more expensive one with better reviews. But for the money I spent, it's been really helpful and easy to use. I'll probably do a recap and revisit of this product to see if there was any issues with it later on, but for now it's been really helpful. As always, you can find more of my work on Instagram, I'm on Twitch, and you can support me on Ko-fi as well. Thanks for watching.